Hey, Bruce Naylor here, the Frugal Tech. I've been asked many times over the years, what do I recommend for somebody starting a YouTube channel? Do I go with a camcorder or do I go with a DSLR? And that is a very loaded question, and I'm going to give you my best possible advice that I can. Fortunately, I own both. I'm in a position where I can own both. And I've worked with both, so now I have a pretty good idea of the pros and cons and the limitations of what these things can do. And let me preface this again with this. A lot of it's going to depend on the type of videos you're going to make, but we'll get into that in just a second. Camcorders, let's talk about these things right here. They come in a consumer, a prosumer, and a professional version. And so you're going to find prices all over the maps. What really kind of makes me mad is when I see people make the comparisons. They'll take a $250 consumer camcorder and compare it to a $2,000 DSLR rig. And of course it's going to be superior. I mean, that's just what it is. The pros of a camcorder, and we're going to talk about that. I'm not really going to be talking about the professional level, but let's talk about the consumer and even some prosumer models. Generally speaking, a camcorder is designed to be very user-friendly. It is designed for video and primarily. That's what its job in life is, to record video. So the body needs to be ergonomic. It should have good optical stabilization, because a lot of people walk around with their camcorders, right? They're recording events, they're walking around with them, etc. So they generally have good optical stabilization. This has what's called the BOS system, Balanced Optical Steady Shot. Does a beautiful job. Autofocus on a camcorder is generally very good. A lot of DSLRs are lacking in that area, great autofocus. If you're a one-man band, you're going to want really good autofocus. Finally, a couple other things. The camcorders generally have the ability to accept a microphone input and also have headphone monitoring to hear the audio. Fantastic. That is good stuff to have. And let's not forget also unlimited, or I shouldn't say unlimited, but record time. Generally DSLRs have like a 30-minute record time. And these, well, the bottom line is you're limited only by your SD card and your battery life. But wait a minute, Bruce. Aren't there some downsides to a camcorder? Yes, there is. The first one that comes immediately to mind is you have a smaller sensor size on a camcorder, especially your consumer and your prosumer camcorders. And because of that, if you are looking for that bokeh, that creamy type of background when you're taking a video, not so much in those, because they do have a more narrow aperture and a smaller sensor. You don't really get that. Another downside is because they're not as wide. If you want to use them in a vlogging type scenario, yeah, you're not going to have that nice wide background behind you. So you can get an adapter, a wide angle lens adapter on some of these. But what I've seen so far in my personal experience, the ones I've bought, you get some type of vignetting with them, and or you get a fisheye type look. And so I'm not really impressed by slapping on an adapter on the front of one of these. So that's kind of another downshot. Also, I think, and this is important, you know, a DSLR was designed first to take photos, and then second, they kind of added on the ability to do video. But you can't, I don't really get good photographs out of a camcorder. You just don't really get good photos. Now, with 4K, you can do a frame grab and get a pretty nice looking, okay photo, but they're still not really designed for photos. So that's kind of something that you have to keep in mind. In the consumer version of the camcorder, you lack that manual control. You lack that because even in this almost $1,000 AX53, I can only set one thing for manual, and then everything else goes back to auto. And these were designed to consumer, this is a consumer 4K camera. So this is designed to be fully automatic. So that is a problem if you want that manual control on these cameras. And so the smaller sensor, the lack of an interchangeable lens, you've got to learn to live with this lens. Those are a couple things inherently that I find limiting with a camcorder. Best use case for these, if you are doing that kind of run and gun video, you can use it for talking head type videos, but you may be aware of that wide thing on there. That's what these are going to be really good at, recording events, lectures, seminars, etc. If you're doing that kind of video, or you're doing a lot of walking around, maybe doing car shows or whatever, these are going to be fantastic for that. But you can make it work in the studio environment, mounting it on a tripod and doing your talking head videos. Okay, enough about camcorders. DSLRs. Now, I happen to have Canon. I happen to like Canon. Unfortunately, on their DSLRs, really don't have 4K option, but that point aside, here's some of the pros when you start talking about DSLR. First off, interchangeable lenses. So that gives you a lot of flexibility depending on the type of look you want for a video, as well as a use case. For example, I have a 10 to 18 millimeter lens on this camera right now. So this makes it ideal for doing close-ups without having, like my face is in here. You know what I'm saying? Perfect vlogging lens. And then, of course, putting them on, no big deal. So changing lenses means that you end up investing in the lenses more so than the body, and you can use these lenses with other cameras in the future. So you got a little bit of future proofing. You've got your investment in here. And these lenses, and they also have a larger sensor. And this would allow me to get that bokeh or bokeh, that cool look of everything blurred out and something in focus with it. So you can be more creative with, I think, with the DSLR than you can with the camcorder. It also has built-in stabilization in the lens, and it's not bad. It's not bad with these Canons whatsoever. Another benefit is because these are first and foremost designed to take photos, you've got great photographs and you can take great looking video both with these things. So, anything else? Yeah, I think two more things that are worth mentioning. You also have full manual control over the camera. Set your ISO, your aperture, your shutter speed. You have that full manual control. You can set the manual focus. Let's talk about autofocus for just a second. They're coming a long way on the autofocus. There used to be no contest between a DSLR and a camcorder. The camcorder won out. But thanks to improved technology, this is getting to be a close match. I'm using a 70D Canon right now with the dual pixel autofocus, and it performs, I think, just as well as the autofocus on this. All right? And so they've come a long, long way, baby, on that. But another thing I noticed that other YouTubers talking about this didn't really talk about was called color science. And I think a lot of people agree Canon's got some of the best color science. There's not a pitch for Canon, but that ability to use different picture profiles with different scenarios, that different color, if you're doing color grading and you're serious about that sort of thing, you have a lot more options in a DSLR. Now, what are some of the cons? Well, I won't say it's price. I've heard a lot of people go, well, you can get camcorders cheaper than you can DSLRs. I disagree. I think you can get them at all price points, so I'm not going to make that argument. One of the downsides of a DSLR is going to be, generally speaking, recording time. These tend to be limited to 30 minutes on 1080p and even less on 4K. So that if you're looking to do long type of events, that could be a problem. Another thing is ergonomics. These aren't quite as easily handheld for a long period of time or for walking around type videos as a camcorder would be. There's also a steeper learning curve as far as learning how to operate the camera to get the best quality video by understanding aperture and understanding ISO and understanding shutter speed and the relationship between all those. But it is time well spent learning that, because the more you know, the better you can determine what that final look of your video is going to be. So, any other downsides? A few models have overheating issues if they're recording 4K video for any length of a time. They've been known to shut down, but I'm not really thinking that that's a showstopper when it comes to DSLR. Now, ultimately, as I said, it depends on the type of videos that you're making. For in-studio work, I think for what I do, for 90% of it, the DSLR is the clear winner due to the versatility, the ability to change lenses, the color behind it, just the beauty of the image. However, when I'm outside doing run and gun type of stuff, then I think more along the lines of this camera. And of course, I have external microphone that I can hook up to it so I can get good, clean, crisp audio out of that. But if I only had one to choose from starting on the budget, I think I would probably go with the DSLR. And because of that versatility and the fact that I can make that investment lenses, and I can really get into the DSLR world about as inexpensively as I can with camcorders. No, I'm not going to get a $250 DSLR, but for a little bit more money, I think it would be worth it over the long haul. So that's my opinion. Both are versatile, both have their use cases. There's some crossover between the two, and I think the lines are getting a little fuzzier, a little blurrier all the time between the two. DSLR has a lot of things going for it, but a few negatives. But I think for the long haul, I'd probably invest in DSLRs over the camcorder for video. But that is my opinion. I'd like to get your take down below. Talk to you later.